Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bola Bola Show podcast. So, I hope you guys have been enjoying all our World Cup series. As you guys know, today's episode is 2006 Germany. And before we bring in our guest who came with the right attire, perfect attire for this occasion. But before we bring him, Elvin, welcome
Yeah,
back, man. We missed you on the last episode, so it's good to
yeah,
have you back.
great to be back. I missed you guys too. So
Mm-hmm.
who is that fellow there with the right attire, Siwan?
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I mean, we have to give him this episode to him, lah, because
yeah.
let him have the say or whatever. Anyway, Russ, welcome back, man.
Yes, thank you for having me back on the show. This is the one that I was originally supposed to be on lah. This
Mm.
one this one by right you have no other person to call but me.
But you,
Yeah,
Hey,
of
welcome,
course,
man.
of
Yeah.
course,
Welcome,
of
Ras.
course.
Great to have you
Yeah,
back
welcome.
again.
Thanks
Yeah.
a lot. Thanks a lot for the welcome, guys.
When you think about 2006 World Cup, I want to briefly ask you guys what is the first thing that comes to your mind? To me personally, I would go first by saying that this is perhaps the most memorable World Cup in terms of balance lah, across star appeal, quality football, outcome of the results, and all that.
So I think you mentioned that star power, that one goes without saying lah. Yeah, the pool of players showed up during this World Cup from the various age. I mean, you have guys towards the closing end of their career and the younger ones that are coming in as well, which I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of them. But for me, this one, I mean, one iconic moment lah. It's of course if you're a French supporter, this is a devastating time. But it was that moment when Zidane just, out war and he left the pitch with his head bent down, walking past the Jules Rimet trophy just at the end, and that image, right? That was basically the end of Zidane's chapter, right, in the World Cup. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to put in words. I think the both of you spoke quite well, quite succinctly about what and summed it up quite well on what this World Cup meant. I think I don't know why, but just for me, it just felt like this is the World Cup that was the beginning of the end for us, lah. I mean, for Italy, yeah, it's the beginning of the end because gets worse after this. But in terms of general star quality and the balance of pure talent versus physicality and what we see today in today's game, in today's modern game. I think this was probably the last of its kind. As the 2010s go by, I think it just, it's got more and more like physical and less pure technical talented players emerging and playing.
yeah, and also, of course, we come with the Jogo Bonito and all those flair stuff. But I think this was
Mm.
this was also a defensive masterclass, when it came to this World Cup.
Mm.
Yeah, but guys, before we get into the works, the football and all that, but what about Germany's right to host this World Cup? When we look back, how they actually got the right to host the World Cup.
If you remember,
Yeah.
when we did the podcast on USA 94, the success of that World Cup gave FIFA the confidence and boost that they can take this tournament to anywhere they wanted. So it was really obvious that 2002 was going to be held in Asia, and 2006, well, not necessarily FIFA, but Sepp Blatter and João Havelange, they wanted it to be held in South Africa. But during the bidding process, the members of FIFA delegates, they were casting their votes. It was between South Africa, Germany, England. I think Morocco was the other
Morocco,
candidate as
yeah.
well. But I think Morocco fell out quite. I think the first round itself they were out. England, because of the bad reputation of hooliganism that took place during the Euros, I think that was cost them a lot. So they were out of it by round two. So it's left to Germany and South Africa. Now it was obvious that among the delegates that there will be a split in the vote. If there's no majority to decide who's going to get the World Cup host, Sepp Blatter being the president will have the final say. However, one of the member, Charles Dempsey, who was at that time the Oceania Football Confederation president, citing of due to corruptions and pressure from the delegation, decided that, he had enough and decided to just abstain from the voting. So as a result, Germany won by 12-11. Kudos to Germany for, getting the rights to host the World Cup, but it also impacted in the way that FIFA, how they would handle this whole bidding process for future World Cups moving forward, because this is the moment where they decided that, okay, we'll have this rotation system between confederations.
So, Sivan, you're saying that during this period, this was the last where all continents will be up
Yeah.
fighting for a spot, but then it will be more focused on what's the next continent, and then whichever countries within that continent will will
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
will will go on and bid for it. Yeah, but Germany as a as a also, so how they won it's one thing, but in general, then when I look back at it as well. This is one of the most well-organized World Cups, I would say. German precision, right? So when it comes to Germany, it's always German efficiency, German precision, and that's what happened, guys. And
Yeah,
as we
yeah,
dive deeper,
yeah.
yeah, we'll find out
It's
more.
it's also
Yeah.
it's also the first World Cup where you start to see the concept of fan zones, fans gathering, big screen TVs, those kind of things, all organized by the World Cup host. But most importantly, I think for Germany, it was also a new chapter in their country history. Hosting the World Cup was a good opportunity for them to sort of reproject a different kind of image to the rest of the world, a more welcoming Germany. So that's why if you look back for many football fans, the summer of 2006 was arguably one of the best summers ever lah. On par maybe with 96, it's just one of those classic summers lah where it's just unforgettable lah.
So summer of '06, not the summer of '69, Brian Adams. So this
Yeah.
was the German summer Martian,
Yep.
summer fairy tale, right? So then, and
Correct.
what you say, Sivan, I think what interesting was this huge gathering of fans, right?
Yeah, no, what I want to add is I remember about the
Hmm.
hosting, and that was England's bid to host forced Manchester United to give up on the defending the FA Cup so that they could go and play in the Club World Cup in
Oh,
Brazil.
yes,
But
yes.
eventually England lost the bid. So that was one thing I remember about England's bid to host. And on the fans part, I mean, we weren't there, lah, so I can't really say it so much. On the
Hmm.
screen, while we were watching, I think, yeah, it was a good collection of fans coming together to watch the games and without trouble as well.
Yeah, and and
Definitely.
and 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 just one more thing also, it's the stadiums, right? Because all the stadiums in Germany, they are also polished, they are huge, and it's all packed out. I mean, I think one of the
Yeah.
a very good average attendance that attended these games and all that. So it was the whole atmosphere, and it turned out well, lah.
And most importantly, this is the first sporting event held in a unified Germany. When we talk about the tournament, I think I would say that the group stage itself already, there was plenty of exciting games, to
Of the
talk
first
about.
game.
The first game itself, Germany, Philip Lahm, that curler from outside the box went straight into the goalpost, and then Costa Rica suddenly, despite the fact that we
Follow
thought
one chop.
Germany is going
Yeah.
to roll over, but then Costa Rica had other ideas and they equalized. But of course, the final score was in favor of Germany 4-2. But I want to get to you, Elvin, first, because the first game that we watched together was at a 3 o'clock morning in a mama shop, a game between Ecuador and Poland. Nobody fancied Ecuador to do it when they were away from the altitude. But what a
Yeah.
performance, man.
Yeah, Edwin Tenorio. I mean, the Ecuador really showed up big time there, during that game. And when it comes to Poland being Germany's neighbor, you expect them to have to. It's like a home game, right, for them. And you will think, being in that atmosphere and all that, but they just went flat. And Ecuador came in, showed up, and they had a great tournament. Ecuador really had a great tournament. And yes, even watching this game in the Mama at that time was something very, very interesting. I would like to add a thing about the Brazil team as well,
Yeah.
right? Because of course, again, as we mentioned about star power and all that, but I mean, just look at this like Ronaldinho, Adriano, Kaká, and of course
Ronaldo.
R9, right? The
The ma-
the Ronaldo,
the
yeah.
magic quartet, man.
Yeah. The four of them, right? And yeah, I mean the way they played. So they came in as a overwhelming favorite into this tournament,
Mm-hmm.
right? And later we'll find out who one an elderly father can do to playing with kids like playing with kids in the playground when
Yep,
when
true. We also have to address this, Lalwin, because compared to 4 years ago, I know for a fact going to this World Cup, we were a bit of nervous, fear, all this instant chemical reaction going inside of us, thinking our first game
always.
against Ivory Coast.
Yep.
Again, we have to have an African team in the same group.
African team coming in for
Yes.
the first time,
You know,
right? Like first time
and you start
qualifier.
to think back all those Francois Oman BX, Samson
Yes.
Siasia moments, and you're thinking to yourself, man, this Ivory Coast team, just look at the stars, just look at their
Yeah.
lineup. You got Didier Drogba, you got Didier Zakora, Bonaventure Kalau, all these names. You're thinking to yourself, man,
Solomon Kalou also was there, right? The Torre
Salomon Kalau,
brothers.
Yeah,
yeah,
Colo
Colo
Torre.
Torre. Can't we have a better start than this? But what a game, man. I mean, look, Juan Roman Riquelme, a
Yes.
player that we are all very well acquainted. We saw him as a 17, 18-year-old player in our own backyard in Malaysia,
Yeah.
doing those magical things with the ball. And we saw that 9 years later in Germany, that through pass to Saviola, man, what a goal.
Yes. That pass. I mean,
Mm.
you will just have to see that pass, and guys do go and check out that pass that led to that goal. when Saviola scored the second goal for Argentina. So we're 2-0 up, and then of course Drogba pulled one back, and again then that was finger. We're losing our fingernails there towards the end because again these guys they always panic in the end, but they held up well there.
So, Ras, I mean, I want to bring you in on this one because
Yep.
if there was one team that came to this World Cup, of course, we're going to get to Italy because Italy's arrival at this World Cup came at a backdrop of something that was very dark going on in Italian football at the time. But there was another national team that came to this World Cup, and I was just watching their documentary on YouTube just about a few hours ago. We're talking about England.
Okay.
I think that we know for a fact England is one of the most popular, highly supported nation in the world. But I think
Not in
this
the world, in this part of the world.
Okay, let's put it to be more precise. But I think for this particular World Cup, I mean, they qualified for so many World Cups, but this one particularly, I can recall the fanfare, the expectation, the media attention, everything was just on a different level.
I think with England, especially in this part of the world, they always get a lot of newspaper columns. We always have to read a lot about England, and it's like as if England's our home team and we are still being colonized by England. So that is quite common. For me, it's like, okay, yeah, once again, hype up the English, and then we see how they do. Then is the so-called golden generation was coming together, good players, good bunch of players, and the English clubs also are doing better in the Champions League, going further than the usual stage, and going deep into the tournament in Champions League as well. So, therefore, I think the expectations around the English team was growing. But you always, whenever come to this World Cup tournaments, despite the expectations, you always have a doubt about them, about Spain, as like, can they really deliver? We have those doubts, and of course we will talk more about it, but that going to tournament, this was my sentiment.
And how about your team, Ras? Italy, coming into this
Okay.
World Cup with all the drama and scandal and all that. So, how was it like
Fax
for
machine,
you
Yeah.
guys?
email,
Yeah.
internet, I mean, name it lah. All the different communication tools that we're using.
Yeah.
MSN Messenger.
Yeah,
I mean,
Doo-doo-doo.
I don't know whether they were using ICQ or not, but who knows, man?
yeah.
Friendster or not, I don't know. Okay.
So, I mean, the sentiments are exactly like how you feel about Argentina. For me as well, whenever, after going through 94, 98, 2002, in between there was Euro 2000 as well. After going through all of that, there was a trepidation going into this tournament. I felt like I kept it in front. I always kept it as a low profile. I always said, no, Italy, I don't know how well they're gonna go. I don't think they're gonna go far. I kept playing it down. So that's actually a superstition, because after seeing how they've been doing after all these tournaments, I kind of get a pattern. When they are, written off, people say no, they're not gonna do anything, or nobody talks about them. That's when they will do well. So I know the pattern. So inside of me, I was quietly confident Italy will do well in the tournament. I never thought they would actually go on and win it in the end, but I know they will actually do better than people expected. Talking about the scandal,
Yeah.
yeah, the scandal erupted, but you never get the impression that, or news reports that, the players in the camp were like distracted. You do wonder that, oh, will they be distracted? How will this affect the team? I did wonder about that, but I never got the impression that they are, very distracted, or they are at loggerheads with each other and the team is not united. So I never got that impression at all. So
So,
the scandal was just in the background for me. I don't think it played a big part.
so do you think this in a way unified the team? It's like, okay, us against what the world is saying. Like,
Yeah, I think
what the media, what's going on in the background, yeah.
I mean, those days we didn't get too much coverage, especially if it's not England. Any other team, we will not get too much coverage or report on how the team is doing or what the managers are saying. We might get a bit from the press conferences, and that's about it. We won't get much reports or insider reports. So especially for a country and team like Italy, there were less avenues to read also on what was going on. Not many podcasts, no podcasts, in fact, in those days also telling us about the situation. So in the afterthought, after everything's over, after many years, people have talked about them. They've had the documentary done, have interviewed the players at that time, and they did say it unified them, and they put aside their club rivalries, because it was a major thing. Juventus had quite a big chunk of players in that squad, and they were the ones that were most implicated. Then you had Milan players, and then there was Inter's play. Inter only had one player, but still, they were the ones that were like the one that reported against Juventus, or the one that got away scot free and were the big beneficiaries. So all these, the big trio of Italian clubs, Inter, Milan, and Juve, their rivalry could have been in play here, but I think everything was put aside, and probably Marcelo Lippi deserves a big credit for that.
What's your take on Marcelo Lippi, by the way? Him coming over as an Italian manager in the aftermath of Giovanni Trapattoni, because I always felt that when Trapattoni came on board, I mean, of course, he has a very impressive CV, but I always felt that his timing with the Italian national team coincided with his decline as a manager. Whereas Lippi, I think he was still at a very top
Good
end of
level.
his game,
Yeah.
good level. I think it was a perfect timing for him to come in as a manager.
Quite true, but I mean, to be honest, Lippi is not exactly my favorite Italian manager because of what happened between him and during his time at Inter. But I know, kudos to him. He created a great Juventus side in the 90s, mid 90s onwards, especially. And then he came back to Juventus for a second stint, did well again. And then now here for the Italian national team as well. And I think what you mentioned is also true, because Trapattoni probably had the handbrakes on, and that limited the Italian team at a time where they had an abundance of talent, including up front, and you're not fully utilizing it because you're still stuck in the catenaccio and defensive style of football. Yeah, so I think Lippi brought a different style of football.
So guys, now we're going to talk about all the interesting part of the first, basically in the group stage. I'm going to start with you, Elwin. What are the few matches that were memorable to you? I mean, we earlier spoke on Ecuador. We talked about Germany's opening game. We talked about Argentina's opening game. But what other game that's in your constant memory all the time when you think of the group stage?
I mean, during the group stages, I think there were a lot of rockets. This is what I remember a lot. And of course, you guys spoke about Lam. Thorsten Frings had a rocket in that game as well. Thomas Rosicky had an awesome goal against US, and that game, I think Jen Collar as well. That bullet header.
Header, yes.
And you just need to throw in a cross into the box and then just put Jen Collar there. I mean, I don't know what was the velocity of the ball at that time when it hit the net. But
Alvin, I must say, you're looking very much like Jan Collar today.
I wish I had his height, bro. Okay.
Sitting down, nobody would know.
But another thing, I think an interesting part in this World Cup, especially when in terms of the African continent, we didn't get the usual suspect there from Africa. The Cameroons, the Nigeria. I mean, what we got is we had four newcomers coming in: Togo, Ivory Coast, Angola, and Ghana. And
finally, man.
Okay.
Finally, Ghana the World Cup.
Yes, Ghana,
correct.
right? And the Black Stars really showed up. They really showed up, because even though Czech Republic did win the first game against US, but they had a rude awakening by Ghana, I think.
What a game, man! What a game!
Yeah.
What
a goal! Sule Muntari.
I remember that game, like the Ghana decided, you know what, every 11 players on the field is going to be an attacker and a defensive midfielder at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
They
I
decided.
think they also learned the lesson the hard way when they played against Brazil.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy for Ghana to be at the World Cup finally, because as growing up in the 90s, we learned Tony Yeboah, Abedi Pele, those legendary stars, but they never quite had a team that could take them to the World Cup, and finally seeing them.
They always did well in the African Cup of Nations, right?
Yeah, they always did well. And when you say African Cup of Nations, another team that is glaringly missing is Egypt.
Yes,
they're about to win, I think, the first of many in a row, but sadly they will not be in the World Cup most of the time. And another debutant, of course, we would like to have our friend here to give us a bit of insight about them. It's a team that also, I have to say that I very much wanted them to be at the World Cup, even though it came at the expense of an Asian country, which is Bahrain. In order to get to the World Cup, it had to go through an intercontinental qualifier against Trinidad Tobago from the CONCACAF side. So I was rooting for Trinidad Tobago on the basis because of players like Dwight York. Because I have this thing in me that all the star players that you grew up, you're watching for their club, you kind of have to see them with their national team at the World Cup, regardless of how they perform there. But at least to see that representation that they are there itself means something. So, I was very happy that Soccer Warriors made it. And of course, it's
Yeah.
through this World Cup, we learn a little bit more about players like Kenwyn Jones, Shaka Islop, Russell Letterby, and all that. Leo Ben Hacker being the manager himself. But the first game against Sweden, not many teams have the opportunity to shut down Zlatan Ibrahimovic, but they did.
I think the Trinidad and Tobago, I think for me and Alvin, we'll have some soft spot for them as well due
Yep.
to Mr. Dwight York.
Yeah.
So I think I was very pleased to have him, Trinidad and Tobago, in the tournament. They had
Yeah.
Stern John as well in that team.
Dwight York, in fact, played in midfield during this.
He had
He
already,
was
his
play
age has
center.
already,
Yeah. So he was
it's
like,
quite aging.
aging, taking his time, controlling the midfield, but still able to, do the full 90 minutes,
Yeah.
and pull his team together. And of course, but Shaka Islop, that game against Sweden, coming back, Steven, he said the game against Sweden, right? Scoreless. I mean, of course, Trinidad and Tobago in the end did not score a goal in this World Cup, but they held actually. Even the Sweden game, they fought like warriors, and I think they were by 10, they were down to 10 men.
Yep.
You're right.
Mm.
And of course, Shaka Islop then was not a starter, but he ended up playing that game.
Correct, yes.
And what a heroic performance by him. And the second game against England, they lasted for 80 over minutes. I think if we had
Yes.
VAR that time, because Peter Crouch pulled Sancho's dreadlocks when he scored the goal. I don't know whether you guys remember that moment.
Okay.
If we had VAR this time, maybe that would have been reviewed, differently, right?
Beckham scored that goal, right?
Peter
No,
Crouch.
it's
No.
Peter Crouch and Gerrard.
Peter
Peter
Crouch.
Crouch, of course, then Gerrard hit a rocket, another rocket out of the box. But the first goal Trinidad scored. I mean, not Trinidad, England scored against Trinidad was in the 83rd, 82nd minute. So they
Yeah, it's quite
lasted.
late. I know they
Yeah.
struggled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
England
actually
struggled.
holding on. They almost hold on to another
draw.
fantastic result for them. Yeah.
And I think we are starting to see the whole England hype and the struggling they are going through in this World Cup, right, Russ? I mean,
Yeah.
they had to fight it off with a 1-0 win against Paraguay in the first game, and then, had to leave it very late against Trinidad and Tobago. So, I mean, of course, what I can remember is they similarly, like in 2002, where they were hoping for a miracle to get David Beckham fit for the World Cup. This time around, it was Wayne Rooney.
Wayne Rooney. And
Yeah.
same injury as well.
Same injury.
metatarsal foot. But I think at least David Beckham in World Cup 2002, he probably played better than Wayne Rooney did in this tournament. So perhaps fitness level and the time where he got injured. Beckham, I remember, got injured, but he got injured in about March or early April. So he had a bit more time to recover. This Rooney got injured like probably second last game of the league season. So shorter time, and even by his own admission today, he has said that he shouldn't have started the game. Probably better off coming as a sub, but he was still young and he's hot-headed. He wants to play all the time. And Sven Goran Eriksson probably thought he is the wonder boy for England at that point in time. Not Michael Owen. He's overtaken Michael Owen, so he needed to play the wonder boy. And these are kind of things that held England back, because managers were trying to fit all these pieces together, but not finding the right balance for the team. And that's another reason why they didn't do too well.
They should have just throw in Theo Walcott to the game, man. Nothing to lose, what?
Theo Walcott, out of nowhere, got selected, playing in the second division.
At the expense of Jermaine Defoe, just to let you guys know.
Yeah, that's why crazy madness.
Yeah.
Well, but this kind of decisions, if it worked out, we would be applauding the decision to say, wow, what a decision, man.
Yeah, yep.
But because it didn't work out, we are saying it's a crazy decision.
You guys consider this as their golden generation?
Oh, that's a tricky question. Because people would also say now this generation is a golden generation because they have greater squad depth. There's more quality in the squad depth. So the generation now is arguably the golden generation, and also because they've made it to at least two finals, two Euro finals. Unlike this generation, this generation on paper was a good generation, but I think only like limited to about 12 players, 12, 13 players.
I would say it's all about Rasmus Tesla. That's about it.
Yeah.
Football, I
they
think,
had a suspect goalkeeper as well. They weren't united.
Football was quite secondary. I think it was all about the glitz, the glamour, of course, the wags also took a huge chunk of the attention from the media and the spotlight as well. So, I wouldn't say, I mean, of course,
and that's the English media's fault, actually.
Yeah.
For giving them the attention.
Yeah, in a way, it's a golden generation because these are all the first batch of Premier League stars coming into the Premier League football era. Your class of
Yeah.
92, Rooney, Owen, all these Frank Lampard, Ferdinand, and all that. So, again, they, as always, England is all about, especially in this era, it's all about hype, but not much of substance. But one team I would say that had a lot of substance in the group stage, Alvin, is our team, our guys.
Yeah,
Especially in the
absolutely.
second game
Yep.
is Serbia Montenegro.
Yeah.
To put it just for the record, this is a Serbia Montenegro had the best defensive record in the UEFA qualifier, topped the group ahead of Spain. I think they didn't concede any goal. So, and I know for a fact that we talked about this game before with a little apprehension because of knowing what happened with Argentina 4 years earlier, and the fact that again this is a second group game that is played in an indoor stadium. But this time, man, wow.
Yeah, so if you remember, right, Stephen,
I remember this game as well.
before we were heading into this game, there was just a lot of the kind of feeling where Ras was earlier mentioning, like you're trying to play it down and then always taking the negative connotation to it, not being overconfident, or in fact going on the other direction, saying this is not going to go well, guys, this is not good and all that. But when they showed up, and when and the 26 pass
Oh yeah.
Goal, yeah.
goal that Cambiaso, I mean, in the end, Cambiaso finished it
Cambiaso
off,
scored.
but it's that whole build up to the goal, but also full blown result, and like you say, Serbia was a very stout defense, and of course they had a rude awakening that day, and yeah, and then goals from Tevez, and even Messi showed up that time,
Yes.
making his debut
Didn't know it was quite decent, man, for us.
yeah.
I didn't expect that. Anyway, I remember the commentary. I think it was Martin Tyler. I'm not too sure who was the commentary. I remember seeing both Tevez and Messi on the bench and telling the whole world how scary is that. It's still mind-boggling to think that actually Argentina went to the game starting with Crespo and Saviola up front. It was Jose Pekerman's decision to keep those two guys on the bench and bring them later, which obviously added those extra goals, which makes the scoreline even more bigger than it ever was. And when you talk about that 26 pass, one thing I have to say, man, is Crespo's back heel.
Yep.
Crespo is not a player that is known to back heel when he's inside the box. He's a player that is known that when the ball comes to him, no matter in what position he is, he will always try to aim it for the goal. But for this one moment, he was a bit unselfish, decided, let Esteban Cambiaso to have the encore, the finishing to what we'll say a perfect rock show, with the starting song, with the hits in the middle, and a perfect encore to just end the whole show, man.
I think it was the Bohemian Rhapsody. You had
Oh,
everything
yes.
inside there. I mean, if I were
Correct, man. Perfect summary, man.
if I were to put it that way, the Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
I want to say about Argentina as well. This in the group stage, I was fearful of them. I thought, wow, this is a team. This is a good team. They're looking good, looking strong, looking to be on form. But on the other hand, also after the 6-0, I thought maybe they have picked a bit too soon, not the right time. Maybe if they had like instead of 6-0, they had won maybe 1 or 2-0 in this game. Then I think later on in the tournament, you can still save a bit more. I have that theory lah. This is the Italian way because Italy always peak at the right time. Group stage, we will be horrible. We'll somehow get out of the group. Nobody will give us two hoods. Then suddenly we'll start surprising. We grow from strength to strength. But that's the theory I have.
Right. Okay. And now coming back to some of the matches, and okay, Ras, go to you. So which was for you the best game of this World Cup?
Actually, in terms of matches in the group stage, if you're talking group
If you
stage,
were to choose one, which one?
yeah,
Which was your ultimate? Yeah.
difficult to choose one because I would like to talk about the teams though, not about the matches. And Germany, I want to talk about Germany because Germany
Okay.
really surprised me. Because we all know about Germany in the 90s, it was such a strong team, but they're known to be strong, physically strong, defensively sound, difficult to get past them. They score, they can play ugly and win the game. Like Gary Lineker say, football is a game played by 22 men, but Germany wins at the end. That was the Germany we know. Then came the period where they got too many old players and faltered at a bad generation in the 2000s. And I was really curious to see how this Germany would do. And the way they played with flamboyance, with openness, go attacking the teams is very different from the Germany we knew under a manager who played in that Germany that we knew in the 90s, early 90s. Jurgen Klinsmann. So they played a really open style of football. I think they were impressive. Holland was impressive in the same group as Argentina. Thought they were really impressive as well. In the same group as Argentina as well, Ivory Coast. I thought they entered the tournament with a lot of appeal, a lot of star appeal. Steven has mentioned all those names, but they came up short, didn't get
Maybe
out of
just
the
in the
group
wrong
stage.
group, right?
Yeah, I
Just,
guess so.
just,
That was
yeah.
also another thing, another theory. I think they got placed in the wrong group. Czech Republic was also a big disappointment because I expected them to do much better. They were in the same group as Italy. They came into the tournament after on the back of a very good Euro 2004. And they had this generation was also a bit of their golden generation. So similar players playing 2 years after. I thought they would go on and do well in this tournament, but they exited the group stage, so they were a disappointment.
Yeah, of course, when you think of this World Cup, yeah, just too many classic games, lah. I think by the quarterfinal stage itself, if there was a perfect way to sum up this World Cup, is that nature is healing itself as compared to what happened 4 years ago. You got Brazil, France, who played the final about 8 years earlier. You got Germany, Argentina, who have their own fair share of history.
Yeah.
You got Portugal and England.
England.
I'm pretty sure the late Sven Goran might be thinking, Filippo Scolari again. And then, of course, the other quarterfinal was Italy and Ukraine. Again, Andrei Shevchenko, another player. Happy for the fact that,
Yeah,
able to see him at the World Cup. Yeah.
true.
So I want to go through this game briefly with you guys. But before that, when it comes to 2006, if we're not going to talk about our favorite team or the World Cup final, there has to be something needs to be discussed about this particular game.
Yes, I think I know which one.
The Battle of Nuremberg.
Oh,
Right?
yes, yes.
Two countries where you kind of expected them to show more
Flamboyant football, yeah.
flamboyance, flair, beauty, and all that, but decided, you
Yeah.
know what? Both decided to become
Wimbledon.
two crazy gang, Wimbledon playing against each other.
I mean, in fact, I think the referee lost it, right? The referee could not control this game. 16 yellow cards, 4 red cards. What the hell, man? Like what's going on here?
Crazy. It was crazy. From the first moment they started giving yellow cards, it was incredible. It was like non-stop. Yellow card and yellow card and yellow card. Yeah. Madness.
It was a
Yeah.
UFC, a real UFC battle. And then there was an ironic moment also when when Broncos and Deco got sent off and they were chilling at the stands there sitting
Barcelona
in
teammates
while
lah.
yeah, Barcelona teammates, they were both off, right? And yeah, and they were chilling and watching, the battle continue. Like yeah, so that was indeed the Battle of Nuremberg, man.
Yeah.
But this actually we forgot to mention this. This was the World Cup, right? Where Graham Paul showed three yellow cards.
Three yellow cards to the Croatian
Josip
guy.
Siminic, I think, from
Oh,
Croatia.
okay. Wow, quite an interesting nuggets like when it comes to every single World Cup. Yeah, and Russ, you mentioned about Australia. Yes, another country that I was super duper happy to see them at the World Cup because they were going through with their own golden generation.
yeah.
Your Vidoka, Kewell, John Aloisi, who else? I mean, Tim
Stan
Cahill,
Lazaridis, Mark
Mark Schwarzer,
Schwarzer.
yeah. And the first game against Japan, what an interesting game because Australia qualified to the World Cup for the last time as an OFC member, meaning to say from this moment onwards, they will be part of AFC. And their first match against Japan is just basically a baptism of fire, showing to the rest of Asia what to expect from them. So yeah, I mean, good shout out, man. I mean, I almost forgot about them.
Yeah, but and also you talk about Asia, I don't think the Asian teams did very well in this tournament. None of them performed well or memorably. And what happened to South Korea?
That's what I'm saying, bro. Nature is healing itself.
Yeah. They cannot buy the referees here in Germany. But okay, Australia also. I'll talk about the Australians. Coach
Go on, mate.
by
Goose Hiddink.
Goose Hiddink. Goose Hiddink. Who they play in the second round? Italy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if there's a little bit of controversy in this World Cup, you're a beat from that game, lah.
Yeah. In the first place, Materazzi got sent off, and that should not have been a sending off because he went in hard on a tackle, but his foot wasn't raised. I until today believe he got sent off because of his reputation. Nothing besides that. So Italy should not have been down to 10 men. And then what happened 4 years before in South Korea, where I said penalty looked a bit soft, but there was contact.
Must have been deja vu for you, lah.
Yeah. So that time wasn't given 4 years ago. Here it was given. So the footballing gods were kind.
Yeah.
And right at the death, right?
And right at the death. So Australia cannot respond.
I think it was Lucas Neal. Lucas Neal gave away
Lucas Neal.
yeah. But come on, I mean, like who would you put in that situation, to take that penalty, man? And did he deliver, boy? Did he do it? Did he do it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, in the top corner.
yeah.
And of course you mentioned the footballing gods. The footballing gods gave us a blockbuster quarterfinal. I'm not going to focus on Argentina Germany because that's we don't need to know what happened there. But let's talk about Brazil and France. You put it summed up perfectly well, Edwin. I
Yeah,
wonder
like
what
in the
you.
Padang, in the Padang, when you used to play football in the Padang,
Mm,
and sometimes you get some veteran players, some veteran
mm-hmm.
uncle coming and then teaching us kids, you get the younger ones trying to be flamboyant and do some skill here, and then that uncle with all his experience comes in and shows you who's the boss. Well, this is the who's the boss game. Like,
Yeah.
really, Zidane has, put basically all these guys were just in awe.
Mm.
This is the game he really showed up, right? And boy, did Brazil learn a lesson
If
in
I'm
this
not
game?
mistaken, he was also kind of like suspended for the group stage game or something. He was missing one or two games. Was it?
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. All
But I
right.
think he might have been, you were right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways,
Okay.
I on that point also, I would say Zidane is probably a peer to a lot of the Brazilian team because the Brazil team actually wasn't so young. So it had a lot of survivors from 2002 and 1998. And so it's like level pegging lah. It's just that on that day Zidane just loves playing Brazil lah.
The other quarterfinal, England versus Portugal. As I mentioned earlier,
Oh
guys, for the third consecutive tournament, Sven-Goran Eriksson was pitted against Felipe Scolari.
yeah.
And I think once again, Scolari, even though I wouldn't say he's not one of the most fancied manager or one of the top 10 best managers in the world, but he's an occasion guy. He picks his fight and know when to thrive in. I'm going to ask you guys, because you guys are both Man United fans. The
Mm.
incident involving two Man United players. I
Yes.
mean,
The wink, the stomp, the
the
stomp,
wing, the
and the wink.
storm. I don't know what I you.
Well, even though I mean, honestly, when it comes to World Cup and all that, even though I'm a Man United fan, I'm never an England fan. So
Mhm.
from so on that for that particular story, yeah, of course, I was very happy with the Ronaldo wink. I will put it that way,
Okay.
right?
And
For me, I
yourself?
think if I look back at it, even until today, I feel one, the stamp wasn't on purpose, it was accidental. They were both battling for the ball, and he don't know. Rooney had no idea of where he was, his bearings were, and he just was trying to find his footing, and he landed on the guy's private parts, I believe, Ricardo Carvalho's
Ricardo
private
Carvalho.
parts
Mhm.
or groin, at least the groin area. So it was accidental. It wasn't on purpose. Then Ronaldo, of course, came and tried to get the referee to send him off, which is fine. It happens. But the wink also is not the wink that, okay, hey, I got Rooney sent off. I think he was probably responding to something from the bench, like the bench was telling him something and he responded to it. So
Mhm.
I felt a bit something was made out of nothing lah in that sense. So English media again, once again,
Yes, yes.
they just needed to find a scapegoat. They
Yep.
had 98, they had Beckham, and somehow it's always the United players that will be scapegoated.
United played West number 7.
Yeah. So it was Beckham first, then Rooney also was a bit blamed for this England's defeat, and Ronaldo, yeah, Phil Neville, Euro 2000. So all of this, I guess, played a part. The game was 0-0, right? Nobody
Yeah,
scored.
all the
I
way to
mean,
penalties.
kudos to
Yeah.
England. They managed to held Portugal well throughout the game. A Portuguese team that also was a bit of a handicap because of some of the players that got sent off in the Battle of Nuremberg.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Lot of casualties from the Battle of
Yeah,
Nuremberg.
so I mean, it wasn't both teams at their very best, but in the
Yeah.
end, when it came to penalty, of course, Portugal had.
Ricardo,
So
without gloves.
so he knew.
That was a
I
very
mean,
vivid memory.
put it this way, if we talk about Amy Martinez today, he was the guy at that time, top a specialist when it comes to penalty shootout, a keeper that is made for penalty shootout. So in the end, it was a disappointing ending for England, and Portugal, of course, made it through the semi-final. So if you look at the semi-final, guys, three of the nations will tell themselves we can forget about what happened in 2002 because we made it this far in this edition. I mean, to say the least, lah.
Even the Argentina Germany was a good quarter final. Was a bit of a surprise because, as I mentioned, I thought Argentina were in good form. They were good state, and doing well. Even in that game, they were playing quite well. They were leading 1-0, and then
Yeah,
out of nowhere,
Ayala scored first. Yeah,
yeah,
and
and
then
out of
quite
nowhere,
later,
Germany found
Germany.
an equalizer,
Yeah,
and they dragged the game to penalty shootout.
The thing is, for
yeah,
Argentina, of course, you have to remember that Abonenzeri got injured, clash with Thorsten Frings, I think.
Ah,
So he had to be taken out and replaced by Leo Di Franco, another player also from the 97 Youth Cup team from Malaysia that played in Malaysia.
yeah.
And from that moment onwards, things basically was chaos, lah, basically.
and Jens Lehmann had what a good showing in the shootout.
Yes, yes. And he had a piece of paper. He went the correct direction all the while, all the way. And in fact saved two that way. But even those that went in, he was in the right direction.
Let's talk about the semis. I mean, again, classic affair on both sides. I'm sure France, Portugal, images or memories of Euro 2000 will never be
Yeah,
forgotten. Germany and Italy, I mean, what is there to say, lah? I mean, you pick any clash between these two nations at any major football tournament, you're not going to be disappointed, lah. There's just so much of
yeah.
history stacked against these two sides. So, Ras, were you a bit concerned about the fact that it's going to be Germany in the semi-final, the host nation and all that? And with
Yeah.
a certain Michael Schumacher, I think, was watching the game.
Was a concern a bit. Yeah, of course, going to you're playing a semi-final, you're playing a nation like Germany, India, home country, you will be a bit nervous. You will not be like fully confident that okay, we're gonna win this. Of course, when you play a team like that, there will be some nervousness and some anxiety. But history is on Italy's side lah, because we've beaten them in 1970, beaten them in 1982, but those were neutral grounds.
Yeah.
This was first time where we played them in Germany, and here again, showed the tactical nous of Lippi, because we did very well. We weathered the storm a bit, and then in extra time, he just flipped the script from, by introducing four attackers, going on to win quite comfortably in the end, 2-0.
It was not a cagey match or anything. There
Yeah,
was a lot
yeah,
of
wasn't.
saves and yeah, it was very high end, high pace,
Yeah.
game. When and of course
Yeah, it
the
wasn't like
goals.
Italy just sat back, the usual you would
Yeah,
expect, Italy just sitting back. I know going to that semi-final, a lot of people were tipping Germany to win, which made me even more confident that probably we could do this. Because again, the theory, when nobody gives Italy a chance, they always do well. So going to the game, I thought like what you mentioned, it wasn't like, Italy just park the bus, set up shop, defend,
yeah.
and try and hit on the counter. Italy actually took the game to them, and it was quite even. And I think fair enough, the game went to extra time because nothing to separate both teams. But the difference was in the extra time with Italy's substitutions and the quality of the
Yeah.
players.
Yep.
I
And that,
think, Lippi went for the kill. It did not want to face Germans in the penalty
Yeah,
shootout.
on the penalty shootout,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So better
He knew
better
the
kill.
risk of
Yeah,
that.
do it, and man,
yeah.
119th and 120th minute.
Yeah.
I would say the one that moment of the Grosso when he scored that goal, it brings you back of the 1982 Marco Tardelli celebration. That
Oh,
Yeah,
that that
yes,
that
yes, yes, yes.
that
yeah. He
iconic
brought that
moment when
back.
he's shaking his head, and that emotional that it really
Yeah.
it reminisces you back to the time again,
Yeah.
that Marco Tardelli
Yeah, yeah.
celebration. Yeah.
Marco Tardelli ran and celebrated like if you showed him the exit outside the stadium, he would have ran all the way back to Italy because he was not stopping at all. But we have to talk about the second goal, man. Del Piero,
Oh, yeah.
what a beauty, lah. I mean, it's like probably the best carbonara you've eaten in your entire life, lah. Not those carbonara where you find in your normal cafes where it's all creamy, milky and stuff. This is the actual ingredients, simple pass, brilliant move, and just sublime finish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I must say this as well. I mean, we'll talk in greater detail later about Italy, but on Del Piero and Totti, we spoke earlier about when we spoke about the Australia game,
Mm.
is that neither Del Piero nor Totti have managed to live up to the level of Roberto Baggio for
Mm.
Italy in World Cup. So the way Roberto Baggio played in the 1990, 94, even 98, he was one of the stars of the Italy team. The way he can drag the team on his own, win games on its own, be so influential. Neither of these two could do that for the Italy national team.
Mm-hmm.
And but this tournament, they shine in parts, I would say. So like
Mm-hmm.
this goal by Del Piero, this was the moment for him. Toti's moment was that penalty against Australia, but neither would I would say like wow, they were outstanding players throughout the tournament in 2006, or a bit disappointing because these two were looked at, okay, they were the replacement, the heirs to Baggio. Baggio is getting older and he's always been injury prone, Baggio. So these two, their stars were shining, they were getting better, playing well for their clubs, especially Del Piero was winning a lot with his club side, but he never lived up to that expectation when he played for Italy. We just proves the point. Sometimes some players, club players, some players are meant for the national team.
And the other semi-final, Portugal and France, again had to be decided by a Zidane penalty. I mean, except this time it's less controversy compared to what happened last time. But, again, I don't know. I was kind of hoping for Portugal to go far on the fact that, players like Figo, being part of that golden generation, he never had a chance to lift anything for country. And I was thinking that maybe this could be a good opportunity, but it looks like Zidane had the final say. I remember it's a very calm, coolly penalty. Not the one that we're going to talk about later, but more or less, in a typical Zidane fashion, taking a penalty, no rush, very calm, cool, and just slot the ball into the right direction, and that's it. And I don't
Was it
think that
1-0 that they won?
yeah, it was just a 1-0 game. And
just
I
the
don't think
penalty.
it was such a memorable game to think of, except for the
It
fact
was
that
it was certainly less exciting than 2000 lah.
definitely less exciting. So that's it. We're gonna have a France-Italy final. Again, a repeat of Euro 2000.
Yes.
So where do you want to start?
Very nervous, more nervous than the semi-final because of the past of our past with France in 98 and 2000. That's why you were hoping Portugal get to the final.
But Ras, this is a World Cup final, right? So of course Euro
Yeah,
final and all is a different thing, but World Cup final is like
world. Yeah.
the ultimate final, lah, right? And your
Yeah,
team is there, and last was 94, right? So I don't know
94.
whether you
Yeah.
remember much about 94,
Of course, I
the time.
remember lah.
This is it, right?
Don't
And
remind me of 94.
so
94 is very tragic as well.
yeah,
So
but walking into the moment of a final, because I think this is worthwhile to talk, because
yeah,
when your favorite team is in the final, how do
yeah.
you feel
Okay, the
leading up to the
difference
game
is,
at night, and the whole day? How do you share? Why don't you share
yeah.
with our listeners?
Correct. The difference is this. 94, I was 10 years old. So the final was like early Monday morning. I cannot possibly wake up and watch because it's schooling day.
Yep.
But I woke up in time to watch the penalty shootout.
It was
And I
good that he
watched
went all the way to penalties, lah, so you could
Yeah,
still catch a
lucky he went
glimpse.
all the way penalties. So when I woke up in 94, I was hoping, please, I was praying to God, please, hopefully Italy win the World Cup. Then when I turned on the TV and saw that, hey, it's still a penalty shootout now. Okay, so I watched that, and of course, didn't end well. It was very, very tragic and very, very sad. I remember my classmates will tell me, one of my classmates still remembers till today that in 1994 I went to school. I was really sad and dejected, and he asked me, "Hey, why you so sad? What happened?" And I say, "Oh, Italy lost lah. Baggio missed the penalty." So until today is memorable among my primary school classmates of my reaction in 1994. So here I was 2006. After a certain time, you forget how old you were. So I forget how old I was in 2006, but I know I was in my 20s. I watched this final, of course, from the very start, and the whole day leading up to the final, very nervous, thinking, oh my God, how are you going to go? Will
Yeah.
it go this way? Will it go that way? I really hope Italy will win. Very, very nervous. Never, don't want to talk so much. I don't want to laugh so much or whatever, like really in the zone, thinking about it, really, really worried. I managed to sleep before the final. So managed to get some sleep before the final, and then wake up, your heart is thumping.
The way you're explaining about the fact that in 94 you were 10 years old and all that, it kind of reminds both me and Elvin, because we were 10 years old in 1990.
Yep. And
The last time Argentina played in a World Cup final.
yeah.
And of course ended in pretty much in the same way, in the same manner in defeat
Less tragic
by
At least
penalties
Maradona didn't miss a penalty in a shootout or whatever, right?
But he wasn't even allowed to take a penalty in 1990 final. So when I look at the French team, of course, there are several players with World Cup final experience. You had Barthez, Thuram, Patrick Vieira, Zidane, Thierry Henry, and surprisingly, the manager is French manager is Raymond Domenech.
It's a cartoon.
Amazed by the fact that he actually managed to take this France team all the way to the final. But coming back to you, Ras, okay, now Italy's in the final. Let's talk through before the final. What was your pre-match ritual? Maybe he did a short prayers or what?
Butterflies in
Yeah,
the stomach.
yeah, butterflies in the stomach, 100%. But
Yeah.
my pre-match rituals is always the same, regardless of the game or the significance of the game. It's always, before a game, 5 minutes before, I will go toilet, I will drink a glass of water, and then I'll sit down and I will watch at the edge of my seat. So that's always been my pre-match ritual till today.
Mhm.
Touch wood.
Were you watching yourself or with the family or how?
No, I was watching myself.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm.
All right. And then, of course, we start with probably the first moment of the game. In the 7 minute itself, referee Horacio Elizondo decides to point to the spot for France and the penalty. I mean, Elvin, you saw the penalty, right? What again? I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
Is
the
it
audacity.
is it
The
arrogant?
audacity.
Is it arrogant or is it snobbish or is it just pure confidence lah from a player like Zidane?
I think leaving on a high lah. I think this for him maybe there's a lot. Probably for Zidane, right? I think this game there are probably a lot of things running in his head at that time, and he wanted to really somehow I got a feeling he wanted to really leave on a high. Of course how it ended was a different thing, but yeah, to do the kind of Panenka nearly missing, hitting the bar, but it was clear, right? We could all clearly see it
Yeah,
cross
yeah.
the line, and it wasn't like the ones. Imagine
1966.
like those, and some of that was, this is again, guys, before the VAR and stuff like that, before the
Yeah.
referee's watch start buzzing when the
Goal line
ball,
technology. Yeah.
goal line technology and all that. It was a huge risk. He could have just been, missed. So I say the audacity, the balls, the courage to do that. Yeah, in the
Okay.
Yeah.
final, only he.
That moment, I mean, like the moment I think it was Thierry Henry that went through and we were a bit exposed, and then Materazzi came out. I was like, oh my God.
Was it
It's
Maluda?
either Thierry or
Maluda was
it's
brought down, I think, right?
or is it
Florent Maluda.
Maluda? Okay, Maluda,
Yeah, yeah,
whoever he was
yeah,
racing
yeah,
through lah.
yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
was coming at speed, and Materazzi put in his leg, and then I was thinking, oh my God, this one is surely gonna be given as a penalty. Worst possible start. You just hope lah, because those days no VAR, right? You hope the referee missed it or the referee say no foul or whatever. I was just hoping that, but it's a penalty. The penalty, and then I was hoping that the penalty would actually, the way it took it, hit the bar. I thought, okay, hit the bar and came off the line, not across the line. Did
Yeah.
not cross the line. So I was hoping that, and it just bounced up and came out, didn't touch the net. But yeah, it is penalty. It is a goal when we crossed the line. So worst possible start we could have in the final. But credit to us, we responded very well. I thought we played our way back into the game and got a goal from a set piece.
And it was
Great leader.
Materazzi, right? But I mean,
Yeah,
what a redemption. So what can I mean?
redemption. Yeah,
Materazzi also had a very big story lah in the final. He was involved
yeah.
in all the incidents lah.
Correct. The penalty, the
Yeah,
goal, the
yeah,
sending off, and later on the shootout, also the penalty
yeah.
shootout is scored. And
Yeah.
actually, Alvin, you make a very good point. No? Now that I think about it, I think probably Zidane, I don't know whether he will ever admit it or if he ever will realize it, that maybe he thought a bit too much about this final. He gave it a bit too much significance to this final and was a bit too hyped up. And as a result, first that penalty, normally Zidane don't take penalties like that.
Yeah.
Regardless of the game, we've seen it so many times with France at Euro 2000, and then this semi-final in this World Cup also against Portugal. Always same style of penalty, with precision, power, tough to save in the top corner. That's his style of penalty taking. And here he goes and tries something cheeky. So maybe he's probably was thinking a bit too much. And then later on in the game, as the frustration grew that they were not winning and they were not taking the lead, I think that probably got to him and Materazzi got under his skin. So probably this had been going on in his mind, and nobody has mentioned this at all. I just drawn this conclusion that something he might have been overplaying this occasion.
If I can recall, even when we talked in the France 98 episode about Zidane, I think Bala raised a very interesting point that because for Juventus, he seems to be very calm, composed. I think so does for his time in Real Madrid. But when it comes to the French national team jersey, you see like you see the extreme side of things, like when he's going to, like what you mentioned, Elvin, the match against Brazil, when he's going to dribbling past, that's one heck of an extreme style of a dribble. When he takes a penalty against Italy, he does it in an extreme way. And
There's
then,
some alter ego, right, that comes out. That's
probably,
the closest. Yeah,
Probably,
He becomes a man possessed.
and he puts on the Les Blue jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and as far as I can remember, that's pretty much about the action on the field. I mean, maybe you can correct me on this, Russ, because I think the next
Italy
thing
had a
that
goal disallowed actually.
okay,
Another corner. Luca Toni scored and it was disallowed for
okay,
foul. I think a foul on someone,
okay.
which was disappointing because I thought, wow, fantastic, we've taken the lead here. There was also another one that Buffon pulled off a great save from Zidane.
Zidane.
Zidane had a header.
Yeah, Zidane had a
Buffon
bullet
pulled off a
header.
great save.
Buffon is another name that I think we have yet to
Quite
delve
a
a
number
little
of
bit more.
names. Actually, we should give credit to quite a lot of Italy players. I mean, we
Yeah,
mentioned some names, but a lot of them, and this is
yeah.
a total collective effort, I would say, in this
Yeah,
from
yeah.
from this Italy team.
Okay,
Yeah.
one thing, Ras, I want to ask you, because now that, this is the World Cup that Italy is playing in the final, would you see that the absence of Christian Vieri was kind of a factor that brought a bit of balance in that dressing room?
I wouldn't say so. I miss Christian Vieri in this tournament, but he was on a decline already at this point of time, and he was getting a lot of injuries, which
Mm-hmm.
is why he missed this World Cup. It wasn't the Christian Vieri of 4 years ago or of 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see why he was not in this World Cup, but I did miss him, and I think overall I did miss the fact that we had like a finisher in the team that could score goals. We didn't really have that. We didn't have a Baggio who was flamboyant and skillful and making things work. We didn't have a Christian Vieri finishing off.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things actually. If I were to think about it,
I mean, with every World Cup, I'm always looking at an angle which there is a Malaysian connection to it. And in this World Cup, in all honesty, it was actually a Malaysian who actually discovered that incident involving Matarazzi and Zidane and alerted to the match official, the assistant referee, who later brought it up to Horacio Elizondo that this has actually happened and showed him on the TV, basically in the monitor, that this has actually happened. And of course, which led to Zidane's red card. And he's none other than Dato' Sri Winster John. During that time, he was actually a general coordinator for FIFA. He was working in FIFA as one of the match commissioners, I believe. So he was actually watching the game from next to the assistant referee, and he spotted the incident and he alerted to it, because had he not watched it and alerted to it, probably the incident would have gone, not to say gone without notice, but it may not have, the ending or maybe the outcome of it would have been probably different lah. Good to know lah, that Malaysian connection with every single World Cup lah. So this is the one for 2006.
Maybe
So
he was the first one, probably to sow the seed of VAR before people start thinking, hey, we should start
yeah.
doing
yeah,
video.
I
I
mean,
mean,
he actually shared this story in the Riza Sashim Julang podcast. So yeah, I mean, correct. That's the exact word lah. He basically introduced VAR before VAR became a concept lah. Of course, when you talk about penalties, I mean, Italy doesn't really have I think a
Yeah.
mixed history lah when it comes to penalties. I think we will remember
Not
more of
mixed
the.
history. No good record.
Really, no good at
As
all. I mean, you guys never won a penalty before. I mean,
as
it's
far as I know, in my lifetime, no lah. I mean, okay, we won at Euro 2000. That was the first time I ever saw Italy win a world penalty shootout
mm,
in the semi-final against
mm-hmm,
Holland, and we did really well in that penalty shootout,
mm-hmm,
which surprised me. But then in the World Cup, no. So when we went to the penalty shootout, I was like, oh my God, again, after 98, this one again, penalty shootout. But I got to say, both teams had impeccable penalties.
mm,
Almost everyone had very good penalties. Nobody, had a poor
yeah.
penalty or put it wide or put it over. Keeper save. Bartes and Buffon had no chance at all in any of the penalties to save it. They didn't come close at all. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was poetic justice that Trezeguet missed it. After what happened 6 years before, he had to be the one to miss it. And I
but
was so,
also, but you think about it, the goalpost, the top corner, the same position. I think how he scored the goal.
Hmm.
yeah,
Uh,
correct.
is the same location
that one went
about
into the
there.
top
He
corner. Yeah,
hit the crossbar, right?
yeah, correct. Yeah, now that you mention it, I never thought about that, but I,
Yeah.
I just focus on
You
the
look at that
identity of the player
crossbar.
only.
So that's a Trezeguet crossbar.
And he missed it, and Grosso scored it, and oh my days, the celebrations, celebrating alone, and then getting calls from my friends. They were like, "Oh, so happy! Oh, Italy won!" Congratulating me on the phone. "Oh, Italy won! Wow, so happy!" The rest of the day I was spent, walking on cloud, like I was walking on clouds. First time ever watching Italy win the World Cup after all the pain and anguish of previous World Cups.
I would say this lah, it definitely kept off a good era for Italian football because
Yeah,
I think Bala spoke about this in the previous episode. You had all the players in every single position, a very balanced, well-rounded
yeah.
team. But it's just that sometimes decisions don't go accordingly, or some hiccup happen, something
Bad
something
luck.
along the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is in this World Cup with Marcelo Lippi as the head coach. I think it was a perfect timing to bring him on board as a head coach because I always realize the problem when it comes to international football, when national team managers are hired, they often get hired at the very tail end of their career when clearly their ideas or their tactics are already like pretty much out of touch lah. Like it no longer can stand the test of time for that moment, and sometimes it's not suitable for international football. So Lippi coming at the right time with his, of course, may not be the most attractive thing to watch, but it's effective and it delivers with this Italian team in this World Cup lah. At least that's my take. And I think it's also a good way to round off, for players like Materazzi, Del Piero, Totti, and all that, who went through all the heartbreak since Euro 2000, 2002, and all that, to finally cap it off with this moment.
I don't think it's fair to say that Italy was just efficient and, usual defensive catenaccio and all that. I felt that Marcelo Lippi played in a more attacking fashion than Trapattoni. Of course, it's
Mm.
not flair. We're not talking about Brazilian kind of openness in terms of football and samba and all that, but we played more openly and in a more attacking way. And I really liked the way he used Simone Perotta on the
Mm.
left wing. He's not a left winger. Italy had no left wingers. So he was always like a extra attacker, always appearing inside the box, making good runs into the box. And I really like the way he used him. And when you talk about the makeup of the squad, for me, it's World Cup 2006, of course, gave me great joy. The team won the World Cup. But in terms of a team and in terms of a squad, it's not my favorite team. It's not my favorite squad. Not because my favorite player is not playing. It's because in terms of quality, this was I at the start already mentioned this was the beginning of the end for Italy. A lot of the players were already like in their 30s already. Cannavaro was 32. They were either the mainstays in this team were either in their late 20s or early 30s already by this time. So they're reaching the end. The decline was already coming, or they were at their absolute peak. Whereas 4 years before, or even 2 years before at Euro 2004, that Italy team was at the probably you say the right age where they were all like peaking and could win and maybe then win some more. And you go back all the way to 1990, the generation of the late 1980s, then early 90s, and then came the generation of the late 90s. So there was always this conveyor belt was coming through until this point. When it came to this World Cup, the youngest players were De Rossi, 22, Gilardino, and then we had a lot of this kind of like journeyman players. Grosso came out of nowhere, had
I
this
think you
one
I,
good
I think you
tournament.
also had players like how do I put it like late comers
Yeah,
peaking at the
late
late
bloomers.
late
Like Grosso
late
is Grosso is one, right? Luca Toni
Yeah,
also.
Luca Toni as well.
Yeah.
Yaquinta as well.
Yaquinta
Mm.
was like a workhorse. Was nothing fancy about him. Compared to all you look at all the forwards we had in the previous World Cup, the star-studded names we had. We had the embarrassment of riches in all those World Cups and players we could live out in those World Cups as well. And here, we had like people like Yaquinta, okay lah, effective for what they could do, team player, but not exactly a world class like wow, wonderful talent, not one of the best talents in the world in the forward line. Totti was coming into this tournament on the back of a very serious injury. So Luca Toni was coming into the tournament with a purple patch, doing very well, scoring a lot of goals from Palermo to Fiorentina, and then after this was Bayern Munich. So he had a good run, but he was no Christian Vieri. So the quality difference between Tony and Vieri is just I okay the players coming together, Lippi bringing them together, the squad being totally united, mentally strong. That led to Italy's triumph. The tactical nuance of Lippi as well. And the players, I think, just giving it their one last good shot at it because
Mm.
I think the best of this generation never really showed their absolute best at World Cup 2002 or Euro 2004. So this was the one tournament where they really showed their best. The one pity I have also was Nesta. Nesta, one of the best defenders of all time, but he was injured quite early and Materazzi took his spot. Same thing happened 2 years before. He got injured Nesta got injured. Materazzi took his spot and he was a shambles there. Here, Materazzi, I felt to his credit, did well. He's not a player that was like well like. He's also another so-called late bloomer. Like, I wouldn't say he's a great defender. Of course, if you're an Inter fan, you like him because of what he does, but otherwise, he's not really in the same class of Baresi. And think about all the players that did not win a World Cup, did not win a Euro. Maldini, Baggio,
Maldini.
still will be considered the two biggest Italian stars of all time. And they end without a World Cup, without a European Championship in their CV. And this generation won it. So yeah, fate lah. I guess fate is another thing that enabled this to happen.
They all pulled their weight, lah. Right,
Yeah, they all
Ras?
pulled their weight.
Yeah,
This was the last hurrah. Because after that, you look at the form of all these players, even for their club sides, it was most of them were in decline. Only Buffon and Pirlo went on to do well even later in their career. Totti still had some good years after that, but he knew his time was up.
yeah, but even
And he didn't.
like Zambrota. I mean, even
Yeah, Ambrota.
yeah, on the right, right when
He
he
was a
came
good,
in.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was a
I
good
remember
player.
the
Like he was
Ukraine
already
game.
playing.
Yeah,
He was already playing like Euro 2002. So he was there. He was there in Euro 2004. So he was already in and about. Not like
yeah.
Grosso, out of nowhere, came out of nowhere
Yeah, yeah.
and made
Mhm.
Yeah,
his mark. And then,
but like you say, most of them, I mean, are in their late 20s and early
yeah, correct,
30s.
correct.
That zone, that for footballers, that's like the peak, right? That's
Yeah,
like
it's the
I mean,
absolute peak lah. From there, it's just down already lah.
absolute peak. And then if people
Yeah,
play like football manager or championship manager, they know players, and once they reach that age, and then later you will not be able to sell them at a higher price anymore. It just goes down after
correct,
that.
correct, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is how I would describe this Italy team. Grateful to have been a fan and witness a World Cup in my lifetime. I don't know whether I'll ever get to witness another World Cup win by Italy in my lifetime. Not sure. Let's see how much life God has given me and how well the Italy revitalizes after missing on 3 World Cups. And the missing on 3 World Cups is the result of what has happened from the start of winning this World Cup.
It's hard to imagine actually. I think all three of us can say this, because when we were growing up, Italy was a country that is synonymous when it comes to World Cup.
Yeah.
Like you can't
Yeah.
separate these two. It's like if you're going to have a World Cup, you got to have a team like Italy. It's hard to imagine that this was going to be the last time that Italy played a knockout stage at the World Cup.
Yes,
20,
yes,
20
true.
years and still counting.
Yeah. But that's the
Okay.
decline. That's the decline of Italian football. The Calciopoli also had something to do with it because even in Serie A as well, at this point of time, you could already feel it. The league was losing its appeal. It's no longer as strong as it used to be. All the best foreign players were the foreign players that were playing in the Italian Serie A were no longer like the best around. They were aging, so it was becoming aging and older, and then Calciopoli hit, and that was like the final nail in the coffin. And Italy never recovered, lah. So I mean, that's the problem of the administrators.
Even though Alvin, Argentina didn't win this particular World Cup, although looking back, I would say that this is a squad that even had it overcome Germany, there probably the chance is there. But I think for us, you can be thankful that from two Malaysian supporting Argentinians, that you had a Malaysian football coordinator, an Argentinian referee,
Yeah.
and not to mention an Argentinian-born winger on your side.
Yes,
Yes.
To be
yes.
thankful that you guys managed to win a World Cup. Just remember
So
that,
see,
okay?
there's
Just
still the
remember that. Ah,
Argentine and Malaysian connection
Dim,
there.
dim.
Thank you very much. I remember Camoranesi chopping off his ponytail after winning
Yeah.
the World Cup.
I think not just he chopped off his ponytail. Lippi did not cut his hair also. He had some superstition that he will not cut his hair until they get knocked out.
Mhm.
And what happened was, of course, they went all the way, right? And then the players actually cut his hair after that final whistle. There was an incident like that about Lippi's hair as well.
Previously, in previous tournaments, we would see the emergence of stars that were established or that were at their peak. But this one was the one where we had a lot of players that were young and then going on to do well in the following decade.
The ending of this episode definitely was a happy one, although it also was the beginning of a different era for Italian football. But nevertheless,
Yeah.
let you have the final say, man, in this episode.
World Cup 2006 brought great joy for me in terms of winning the World Cup. But of course, the way I'm talking it, talking about it today is with also with great sadness that what has happened after that. Don't know whether people notice it, but I think people might notice it that I don't know why, but I keep talking about Italy somehow, and then I somehow sound depressed, and don't know, someone is going to send me a psychologist and say, or maybe you need to see someone to get over your depression of Italy. You keep talking about Italy, so that's how it's been like. It's been one of the greatest tournaments that I've witnessed.
No, I think it was just a very nice chat we had with Ras here, letting him live back that moment again,
Yeah,
and this was his highest moment,
yeah,
right up there on the pedestal, and
true.
just very happy for you, and just the things that we were sharing, like earlier, like for him when he was getting ready for final match day, match day final, the feelings, it just resonates. Like all of us, when we go through this
Yeah.
Yeah.
World Cup final, no, not many get to experience this. So we are lucky today to have our brother here who is who's experienced this. His favorite team going to the World Cup, winning it, and you're saying, Ras, that you don't know when the next time you will see this happen again. I hope like maybe one day your son will get to enjoy
Yeah.
this moment.
Yeah.
Maybe, of
Actually,
course,
you
that
talk
time
about
maybe,
my
yeah.
when you're talking about this, right? And then you just mentioned my son. I just remembered, of course, Italy won Euro 2020, which was played in 2021. And that's personally a very special tournament, probably even more special than winning World Cup 2006, because my son was 1 year old during the Euros in 2020.
Mm.
And a lot of times he was like, awake, for milk and all that. And I put him on the couch next to me and watch the matches. And he like kind of like gave a bit of, I don't know, I would say he was like my good luck charm in that tournament. And so
Mm.
for me as a father, I think that was a really special tournament.
Okay.
Moreover, you would have known by now maybe that he is named after my favorite
Yep.
player. Part of his name is after my favorite player.
Queen
Huh?
Beto, right? The Portuguese fella.
No.
Okay.
No, Roberto Baggio. So
Okay.
that is so that one I think is a bit as a father because when you become a father, feelings are a bit different
Mm.
as opposed to being a single man.
Okay,
Mm.
so
Okay.
maybe Ras, maybe I just thought about this. Maybe one day, your son will be 22 years old, and of course, you will be like your father. Let him enjoy the moment, please. Please be in your room sleeping, Ras, and let him enjoy the moment to watch Italy in the World Cup.
But I've got to say, I'm more of a diehard football fan than my father. My
Okay.
father is a football fan. He introduced me to football and all that, but he's less diehard than me. So I don't know. When I'm that age, maybe I might be.
Yeah.
Okay, I might be in the room, but I might be sneaking through the hole in the door between the gap of
No,
the
man,
door,
you don't want to
spying.
jinx it for him, man. Let him
Yeah.
have his day.
Yeah.
He might throw something at me.
Yeah. Sharing these moments, great World Cup, great sharing experience with
Yeah.
Ras as
True.
well. Yeah.
Great memories, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever
Yeah.
we share about all this, we also recall about different moments of our life where we
Yeah.
were at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
You guys always share, okay, you were doing this, you were doing that, and all that. This moment in my life, I was like in a bit of a limbo, to be honest, in 2006, because I lost my job in the police force. Then I had to
Mm.
serve national service all over again, and I had
Mm.
a knee injury that was like hanging in the balance, undiagnosed. Nobody know what's the cause of the injury. Go through scope, still cannot recover. So a lot of things was going on in my life and in my head, and you're stepping into adulthood and adulting and all that. A change is different from when you were in school and poly and all that. So that this moment where we won the World Cup thing just gave a bit of relief lah at that point in
Mm.
time in my life. Yeah,
Mm.
sorry to take up so much of your time, like bringing out topics of
No,
No, no,
inconsequential topic.
it's okay because
worries.
this is how football touch everybody's life, right? And that's
Yeah.
the whole thing about it's not
Mm.
just about the game, but how
It's
it
become
evolves
this
around our
episode has
life.
become like a therapy session for me.
I would say it's one of the most memorable World Cup for me. It was disappointing for my team, but I think overall, in terms of how the World Cup turned out, everything about it, the optimism that it gave me as a football fan, I would put this as one of my highly ranked World Cup lah. And I also have to say that it was in this World Cup whereby I started to dabble a little bit more into the internet by getting into this art form called blogging. There was a new art form thing at that time. So, I started to follow all these blogs about football, other related stuff, comments and giving comments and engaging and all that. And that's where it led to where I am today, hosting a podcast, writing articles, talking crappy stuff on social media and all that lah. 20 years ago, that is where it all began for me. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Russ, for sharing your memories
Welcome.
as well. Thank you so much, Elvin, for coming on board. Good to have you here on this episode.
Yeah,
And
nice to see you again, Elvin.
Yeah.
And great to have you, Russ. Yeah.
And with that said, we will end this week's episode of the Bola Bola Show. Of course, next episode, the World Cup finally. This time is for Africa.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for that.